Welcome to another episode of the Ear Hustler Podcast, where everybody has a story and God gets the glory. Today our special guest is Washington, Georgia, District 1 City Councilman Maceo Mahoney. How long have you served the city of Washington as a city council member?
12 years. 12 years on the city council.
And what made you decide to get involved in politics?
Well, years ago, Reverend Rucker ran for county commissioner, and I served on his campaign team, and seeing the work that he was doing, it inspired me to run for public office. So here I am.
So what makes you want to continue to serve this city on the council?
Well, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. You know, we have one of the biggest budgets that's ever is going to be created in the existence of the city of Washington. And, you know, I think that with some strategic efforts, we can make use in our community of getting resources back into our community.
So you have been on the council for over 12 years. What are some of your accomplishments as a council member?
Well, one of the things was a couple of months ago, I got mayor and council to agree to rename a park that was just only named after a street to be named after Elijah Anderson. Elijah Anderson was the first African-American city council member to be elected. And I'm a big proponent of proposing protecting black equity in our community and teaching the history. So now, you know, we get a design charrette getting put together so we can come back with the family and dedicate this park to Elijah Anderson City Park. And I think that was a great thing for the city of Washington to do as well. Then we had the School Street Cemetery. When you looked on the county records, it only had it listed as Negro Cemetery. I felt like black people deserve a little bit more than to be known for one of the biggest historic cemeteries just to be named Negro Cemetery. So we had that name changed as well. We go on Tate Street. While I was on the cemetery committee, we was talking about signage and street signage, and I told them, I like what you want to do over in Rest Haven. I said, but let's talk about Tate Street, City West Cemetery, because it's only named by a street sign. So I sent Sherry at that time, and I can give her credit for that. I sent Sherry a design charrette of an archway, and the first thing she said was, that's going to cost a lot of money. But then when you looked at how much money we had spent historically over in Rest Haven Cemetery and never made a real big investment over into Tate Street Cemetery, well, City West, you know, cemetery committee approved to put the archway over there, and now, you know, when you go over there, you have a name for the cemetery and not you have to look for a street sign. Yeah, and also, you know, we had a welding program that we brought here about 4 years ago, and my goal was to put the welding program inside the actual school system. I never did get the right traction that I wanted. And at that time, you know, they say we can't work together, but at that time, and I talked to Ames and talked to Sherry and both mayor and council. You know, we had put together this money to invest into a welding program in the school system. Because see, then the only thing we had to do is bring in an instructor, because they already had a welding lab that was already over there. So I never did really get a lot of traction with it. So then I went to the Capitol, you know, and with some colleagues of mine that kind of introduced me to the governor. And I had heard him talk that morning about the things that he had vision for rural Georgia. And I told him I'm from rural Georgia, and I would love to believe in some of the things that he was saying, but it just wasn't happening, right? It wasn't happening. And so, you know, I got that commitment from his office that I was going to get a phone call that evening by 5 o'clock. And if I didn't get a phone call by 5, to call him back. And so relationships, we talk about relationships. We talk about, you know, who can make a phone call and get things done. You know, that's one of the things that I pride myself is. Whenever I'm in a room, I want to work the whole room. So that welding program was one of the greatest things that happened with the actual state. The next thing was, you know, Parks and Rec, you know, the kids in the summertime used to have to leave around about 10, 11 o'clock because it used to be just too hot up in there. And, you know, I met with Sam and I met with Ames about, how can we get this done? And Charles Jackson, he played a big role in it as well. But we was able to, both city and county, invest $70,000 into having a HVAC unit put into the gym that was up there. So now our kids can play and they can learn and they can grow in a climate control area. And I love to see in the evening time when I ride by there and people still making use out of it, shooting basketball. So that's another thing that both, with me being on the city council and working across the line, giving and taking, negotiating, that we was able to get it done, and that was something that was big. I've been working with the Housing Authority for about 5-6 years about this redevelopment project, and it bothers me. It really bothers me that we haven't got as far as we have, with their project. But, we're going to continue to beat the bushes and understand that, find ways to get things done. And then the Gordon Street School. So Tina Hutchinson, who was with DCA, I had talked to her a lot about, how can we get an actual CDBG grant for the extra school, which is a community development block grant. And what a lot of people don't understand is that before you apply for some of these grants, you need what you call a revenue generator. So the revenue generator that was already on the design charrette, before I came on council, I just picked that design charrette back up where it was left off at that time. Barbara Bacon, worked with the city, kudos to Barbara for all the work that she's done with getting the housing did on Russia Street, getting the infrastructure done on Norman Street, and, just a wealth of resources, So I picked that project back up, because it was just laying there. It wasn't anybody doing anything. So I knew in order to get any money from the community development, from DCA, community development block grant money, we had to have a revenue generator. So I picked that project back up. Marcus Deal, Sherry, Ames, we understood what needed to have done. And so we tried to make sure that the amphitheater had got created and got finished over there. So that way the community can have events that they can actually go to. You already could charge a small marginal fee and they could generate income. And so that would have made great for an application for a community development block grant. Yeah, and another thing is I've been working with LaTanya Goodman with WorkSource Georgia and, trying to get WorkSource Georgia in Washington. My goal and my vision was to kids that, go into Athens Tech and get their GED and then go 2 doors down and be able to actually find a job. So go from getting a GED to going to get job placement. So, that's been a big thing. And, the state Department of Education now has this organization called Great Promise Program. And Great Promise deal with kids that are aged, 15, 16 years of age to, I want to say age 18, 19. And what they do is these kids that normally would drop out of school, or these kids that normally would not meet the benchmark for being in the CTAE program, this is a kind of tool that we can put in our toolbox to work with these kids. And these kids have a mentor, and these kids are going to be working in the community. They're going to be working at the industrial sites. The city want to bring on some of these kids. And, I've talked to Hilda Garrison. I have a meeting Friday morning at 9 o'clock with the Rural Initiative of Education for Great Promise this Friday. So, and I've also reached out with the superintendent. I'm also trying to champion my board of election, my board of education representatives as well. So hopefully, we can generate some energy to understand that that's a barrier. Kids that are dropping out of school and kids that are not learning any technical skills or learning new work skills will be able to get these skills through the Great Promise program. And there'll be a little bit more incentive on making them stay into school. So I'm a big proponent of looking at barriers and not just looking at what the problem is, but coming to with real life solutions.
So over the last 12 years, it seems like you have made a lot of great connections and a lot of people that can really help this city advance. Is that correct?
Well, I chair Georgia Municipal Black Caucus, which is, serves all the African American mayors and city council members across the state of Georgia. I've been the president for the last 3.5 years. I've also the policy council president for Washington County NBNPW Club, which, we have a Head Start facility here in Washington. I am a byproduct of Head Start, right? And so, I chair the policy council, and we're doing some great work. We got a STEM program put in place. We also, the last Christmas program that the kids did, kids was actually doing sign language. And I don't think a lot of people knew that the kids were doing sign language, but they were actually doing sign language, which was great. But, just to get our kids and challenge them to do even more with our kids so they can be just, far ahead of what the regular school is going to be asking them to be a part of. I really want them to start learning some Spanish. They're like, Mr. Mahoney, we are doing Spanish. The kids are learning their numbers and they're learning their alphabets. So, and kudos to Mr. Rainey and all the parents that work with the kids that's over there, and to make that, make their organization better. Through them, the biggest significant mark that we can make is, being a part of programs like that, looking at what the issues are, and being forceful and talking about what we do. And I think those parents, they do a great job of advocating for the kids that's over there at the Head Start.
So why is it so important for you to get reelected and to continue to serve the citizens of Washington?
Well, serving is my passion. I believe it's a calling. I've made some great strides, with the state, other organizations that really want to make an investment in Washington. And I think I'm the best candidate that can make sure and guarantee that does happen.
So what is your plan to help the citizens of Washington win and live better, productive lives?
Well, one of the things that we got to do is protect the quality of life. That's one big thing. And we have to roll back some of these electoral rates. People say it can't be done. I'm not campaigning on it can be did or it can't be did. It can be did, We're looking at your electric bill. You got $22 of water, $22 for sewer, $22 for electricity. We can begin to start to take some of those power adjustment fees off that bill, and you'll see a $22 decrease off of your bill just with doing that. Some of the things that we also can look at is some of these rates. They said did a one-time electric rate reduction. People said, the talking point was it was 7.5% or 7.9%, but people don't know that we buy our power by kilowatt per hour. So the person who has a $200 bill, they only saw $7 off their bill. So, I think we got to have a better understanding to the community, be more transparent of how your electric bill is actually calculated. And that's another thing that we can do. We come up with some incentives that we also can give back money to some of the constituents inside the city. So there's a lot of things that we actually can do, with helping with the heating and cooling of your house, financing heating and cooling systems, installation. There's a lot of things that, we actually can do.
So what is one of the biggest challenges that you think this city is facing that needs to be corrected immediately? And how do you think it can be corrected?
Creating a workforce. We are struggling with getting people trained for jobs and getting people ready. But then also we got to have people at the table to understand the barriers. District 1 is 90% poverty. I mean, 90% of the people that stays in District 1 make less than the state median income. And we also have 3 housing authorities in our district as well. And a lot of the tenants that are in the housing authorities actually trying to find good jobs are prevented from really taking advantage of it, because then if they get the job and it pays, a great pay, they're going to be evicted because they're making more than the requirement to stay in the housing authority. So that's a problem, and that's an issue as well.
So Councilman Mahoney, this is something I'm sure everybody wants to know. Why did you withdraw from the mayoral race?
Well, you look at the last time that I'm a numbers guy. The last time that Marion Tutt ran 457 black voters didn't turn out to the race. I knew that if there was going to be a low voter turnout, then I knew 2 African-American candidates. It just wasn't going to work. I thought I had the support of Miss Booker that was in the race, but she decided to run, and I have to respect that. And I just felt like it was going to divide the black vote, so that's the reason why I dropped out the race.
Well, Councilman Mahoney, since I'm sitting here with you in the City Hall chambers, tell me, what is a normal day like around here?
Well, it all depends on what's really going on. You have people that come in and visit the city that want to meet the council members or want to meet the mayor, or if a developer is coming into town, then he's meeting with code enforcement, and our community director, she be having projects going on. So a lot of times when I come up here, I'm touching base with everybody, asking them what's going on for the week, what they're working on, do they need my help with anything, do they feel like there's going to be resistance to some of the things they're trying to do. And the biggest thing I think people need to understand is that City Hall is ran from 9 to 5. It runs its own schedule. It doesn't run around your schedule. So I really think that, these positions are really made for people who are really retired, but because you have the time to come up here and do the things that needs to be done. But however, people do have to work. People do have to earn a living, and they have to take care of their families. And, I dare not tell anybody not to run because they have a job, but understand that, City Hall is ran from 9 to 5. And if you work a 12-hour shift or you work a 10-hour shift, 8 of those hours are going to be gone, or 10 of those hours are going to be gone. And so you'll be behind on what the issue was for the day. There may be something that they need to make a decision about, and you have to be available, and that's one of the things, 12 years I struggled with it. And I'm going to tell you the reason why I struggled with it, because a lot of times things will be going on and I'm at work and I had to, hear about it the next day.
Well, let me ask you this. What are your views about the policing of the city?
Policing as the policing that's going on now, or funding of the police department?
Well, the way it's being handled now versus the way it was when the city had its own police department.
Oh, I still double down and think that the city need to have its own police department. I'm just a proponent of quality of life, and I think our sheriffs do a great job. However, I think they was unfair how they was handed the duties of policing the city. But the sheriff isn't elected, official, and we falls up under the governance of it. And, the city gives the sheriff $1.2 million. So when you look at how much money we give the sheriff department, then we look at, we finna turn back around and give them $43,000 a month just to do the job that they already supposed to be doing. Like, how do I go back to my constituents and I tell them that, we're making sound decisions on funding them? I don't think that, they should be being taxed again for something they already paying for. I think that's really double taxation.
Is anything happening in the city now? Any big development or anything, any new businesses that you know of that are coming to town or anything like that?
Well, as far as housing, we have one of the biggest housing developments that's going on the bypass. I think they're supposed to put somewhere around 150, 200 houses, well, single family home and townhouses. That's going to be a big project. And, as when you ride by there now, you can see that they already done the grading. So real soon, they're going to be breaking ground. One of the things that I was able to do while I was at the Capitol was meet with Spencer Fry. Spencer Fry is over Habitat for Humanity here in this district. And they had never adopted Washington as a Habitat for Humanity. So I was able to meet with State Representative Fry in his office in Atlanta. Great guy. Very spiritual, grounded person as well. He understands the work around having housing. He did also tell me that we probably won't be building a house every year, but, we probably looking at building a house every other year. But the goal behind it is too many times, Washington is one of these communities where blacks and whites don't never have an opportunity to work together. We go to football games together, but we don't have an opportunity to work together. So having a Habitat for Humanity here in Washington, there could be some projects that both blacks and whites in Washington can work alongside each other, can have conversations about their kids, can have conversations about some of the things they want to see, and have an opportunity to work together. And I think that's one of the things that we deprive our citizens of is opportunities, both blacks and whites, and other initiatives too that's here in Washington, our Hispanic population, but have a way for all of us to work together and come up with common solutions as well. I think that's another barrier that I think going forward, I really want to try to champion and work on. I already started that work with coming up with a committee to address homelessness. I think that, we always invoke that deity when we get ready to handle business meetings. And, I told you earlier that I feel it was a calling. And for us to have people that's in Washington that's homeless and we're not paying close attention to what resources that we can actually do to make them, to get them from being homeless to being sound, productive, and contributing members to society, I think God is not pleased with that. So 2 months ago at our city council meeting, I asked that District 2 come up with 3 ministers from District 2, because I know predominantly all the white churches are in District 2, and 3 people from District 1 to get them involved with coming together and having a committee to talk about homelessness, to talk about the things that the city should be doing or the city could be doing, and just to make them aware that this is actually going on in the city of Washington. So those are some of the things, I think that's going forward, going to give us the opportunity to work together to take our mind off the things that, people are going to vote it up or down. But let's talk about the real work that we can champion about, and all of us can feel comfortable leaving the table saying we've done something great.
So, Councilman Mahoney, one of the biggest issues here in the community is the lack of jobs. That seems what people seem to be concerned about. So as a councilman, what would you do to attract businesses here so that there can be more places of employment in the city of Washington?
Well, we have to come up with a program that we invest in workforce development. We need to be making sure that we are putting together those resources and being intentional on training young people and young adults on what the job market is actually looking for. I think one of the things that we need to really understand is economic development actually really starts with the county. When businesses actually want to come to your community, it actually goes to the county first, because Washington is in the county seat of Wilkes County. But we also have to have better communication and be more strategic on what do we see forecast-wise of what's going on around us. A lot of times you don't have to really bring jobs here. You can bring jobs to neighboring communities around you. And a lot of us travel back and forth to jobs. But I think that we have to be intentional on having a trained workforce. We have to be looking at the businesses that are located around us. One of the biggest things that we're seeing now with the spike is EVs, like the electric voltage cars that they're doing now. We need to be training our young people to understand, the business that comes behind that. because there's going to be 7,500 jobs that's going to be located over there on the other side of Madison over there, where I think it's called Rivian. I think that's what it's being called, Rivian. But, that's going to be 7,500 jobs that, and if we can't get, I'm not saying bring a Rivian here, but Rivian is going to have vendors. They're going to have to make parts for that company. So we need to be networking with them to say, well, hey, listen, have you ever thought about coming to the city of Washington? Whether we're going to be offering you free land, whether or not we're going to be offering you tax incentives. Because that's our bill. You got to be competitive, because all the other communities around us are competing for those same jobs. So we got to be strategic about what our approach is. And I think we also have to leverage our relationships with our state representatives, our congressmen, and our senators on what we're willing to bring to the table and who is actually coming to Georgia looking to bring a business to Georgia.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you familiar with the SDS?
So the SDS is called the Service to Delivery Strategy, and that is negotiated between the city and the county. And basically it's supposed to be to prevent double taxation. And what the city is going to fund versus what the county is going to fund. And a lot of people have asked me about some of the people that are running that works in different job capacities with the county and what they'll look like. Technically, I feel like it'll be a conflict. Like, how can you really negotiate on behalf of the city when you have a job that works for the county? Like, is there's gonna, where's the integrity that's gonna come behind that, making sure that nothing unethical happens behind the scenes of negotiating these deals? So that's something that, citizens also got to really keep in mind and understand that, hey, this SDS comes up, it's a bad position to be in running for a public office. But however, Washington is a small community, and, jobs are hard to find here. But at the same time, we really got to be paying attention to that. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I own a couple of businesses, and I have probably about 8 employees that work for me right now as well. But I think what we have to do is invest in entrepreneurs and other people who have like mindsets or want to own their own businesses and give them the technical help that they need. So networking with the Small Business Administration out of Augusta to come in and help coach and train young entrepreneurs about what does the state or the federal government look at when they're giving you a loan. A lot of times we apply for loans and we get turned down, but we never know why. So bringing in the SBA and start a small mini SBDC, Small Business Development Center in Washington, that maybe once or twice a month they'll come down from Augusta and have technical training with people who want to start their own business. Because if we can invest in people that are entrepreneurs to start small businesses and they be successful and they grow, we help bring jobs locally as well.
So during your tenure as a city councilman, a lot of people in the community say that all you all do is fuss and fight, bicker, you all never get anything accomplished. Why do you think people say that?
Well, for one, I think a lot of people don't know what the agenda was on that given night that we are debating about. When people say fuss and fight, I think we are debating the issue. We can be real clear that for the last 12 years, this has never been a District 1 budget. We have had limit power, things that we could actually do, because when there's a 3-3 vote and the mayor breaks the tie, that's 4 votes. Very seldom has there been a time that the mayor has voted to break a tie that gave leverage to District 1. And the only thing we're really fighting about is, how do we bring programs in our community? 2 years ago, I brought up in the budget about a transportation system, trying to get the city to invest in that so that people who didn't have a car would be able to get a job or have a ride to a job. That was voted down. I even voted to have Black history at the City Museum. That was voted down. 3-3 tie, mayor breaks the tie, is canned. There have been times that we have brought up issues to put on the agenda. The 3 council members from District 2 struck all of our agenda items off the list, and the mayor broke their tie. So people say we fuss, fight, and argue, but I'm fussing and fighting about Black equity in our community. I'm fighting for humanity. I'm fighting for our people to be recognized as citizens because they make just as much of a big investment into the city as everybody else does, and I'm passionate about it.
So they see fussing and fighting, but they fail to realize that you all are just fighting for your constituents.
Yeah, prime example, like this electric policy. We've been fighting that. And it's a 3-3 tie. Like, we've been trying to get rid of the policy.
Well, how's the attendance at the city council meeting now? Do people from your district attend the council meeting?
No. Let me take that back.
So if people are not attending and they're not coming to voice their concerns, and when you all try to voice your concerns for them, then they, want to talk negative about that. That really doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, let me say this. There are some African American constituents that come to every city council meeting. I do think that if you're going to get involved in city politics, that you need to be at the meeting knowing what's going on in the city as well as in your community.
When you say involved in city politics, you mean like, for instance, running as a candidate?
Running as a candidate, want to be on the board, want to be on the commission, want to be on an authority. You need to be coming to the city council. And I think that's too many times we put people on these boards, committees, and authorities looking for them to do great work, and they get there and be stalemates and don't accomplish much.
So in other words, this is like a football player going to a new team and you never studied the playbook and they just throw you in the game.
Right. And ain't nobody gonna teach you this game. You're gonna have to get in that seat, know what you're doing, know what you can, know what you can't do, because there's limits by the state of Georgia of things that you can do, things that you can't do. A lot of times people come up and they just want us to write a blank check and just give it to this person. They give it, number one, our auditor is gonna find that, and that's gonna be a flag. And you don't want a finding on your audit. And the other thing is, because we can't do it for everybody, that we just don't do it. Cities just don't do it. I've been a very strong proponent of having money put in place for our youth. Last year we put together $60,000 out of that budget for youth, for anybody who had anything they was doing with kids. Tell me why we got money back. Ms. Rogers, she had an AAU team. She took advantage of it. I think Roxanne Cobb, she took advantage of some of the money, but there is other organizations that's here in Washington that could have took advantage of that money. And that was open for anybody. And that's the one thing that I said that, the mayor and council, we did do. We put that money over there. But we also didn't use all the money. I don't understand that. And a lot of times people want you to get out there and do this. If I had my hands in everything that's going on, then I couldn't really do the real work. Like, it's my job to make sure money is allocated for Parks and Rec. It's my job to make sure that money is allocated in the budget for the Senior Citizen Center. But if I go to every Parks and Rec board meeting, which I attend a lot of them, I haven't been to none of them in probably about the past couple months, because WorkSource Georgia been having meetings down in Thompson. And I've been like trying to listen in on those meetings to try to find out, who's who around the state of Georgia in that 9-county area to gain support, to garner support on why we need to put more money and more emphasis in it. But, this is where the community, who are the biggest stakeholders, this is where they come together and they make sure. I never want to be the micromanaging type elected official. I want to be the elected official that when you have an issue, when you have a problem, when you have gotten as far as you can go, you can come to me to try to get some resolve on how I get you to progress and move forward. And I remove these obstacles and stalemates that are in your place, that are in your pathway, that are keeping you from being successful.
So over the last 12 years, we know that you have helped Washington accomplish so much and advance in many areas. And I know that you have still many goals and ambitions for this city. Who are some of the people that you know that can help assist in getting Washington in a better place, like some of the relationships that you've developed over the years?
Well, Tina Hutchinson is our she is from Department of Community Affairs. And she's our representative for our district. Tina is a wealth of help to our community. And a lot of times we don't understand when organizations like the URA board, when it was created, why it was created. So when they get new members on their board, it's great to have a Tina Hutchinson that comes down and say, hey, these are the things that you should be doing. And this is how you do it. And in order to do this, you must first do this. So she's been a great resource. Stephanie Benson, she used to be with Plan First Community, but now she is over downtown development. Another great resource. She knows where the money is at. She knows how to make communities thrive. And she, always been a champion of Washington. That's one thing I can say about, Washington, Georgia, and Wilkes County. We've always had people who always wanted to see Washington grow and thrive. The work that Barbara Bacon did over on Russia Street, some of our classes, they have that project that's actually up there on the screen, and they always talk about how Washington did this project, how it took a blight, nuisance, and dilapidated area and redeveloped it. And since then, we've been able to use program income. And that's another thing. Knowing these monies that once these houses are built is program income, after the second round, that money can be reappropriated for something else. I work diligently hard to make sure that money stays in place, to continue the housing and make sure housing be the number one focus. And, we was able to put families in housing. I want to say 3 or 4 families in housing in the last year in a bullish market, and people are getting a house for $90,000, and they walking away from the table with $40,000. No other program around is like doing that, And it's my job, and I'm always putting that information out. And it feels good to see people that you talk to believed in the vision, trusted you on what you told them, and they take it and use it for their advantage. And so you really, have to know the ins and outs and being able to maneuver around and talk to people. And I've gained that, the city has invested in me to get those type of resources. And I'm also, the MEAG representative for the city of Washington as well. So, my job every year is whenever they're electing MEAG representatives on the board, it's my job to help them understand how Washington is derived of when it comes to industries, when it talks about businesses, and understanding that rural Georgia outside of Atlanta have problems paying their utility bills. Now, since we've had Clean Sparks, that has done like crazy numbers in our community, numbers that we had never seen before. And, but we need to understand how to best use those resources. We need to understand how to put those resources into practice where we're making an investment in the Washington, and also that we're taking some of the economic strain off our citizens that are having to pay some of these, high utility rates. I work with our Senator Lee Anderson. I've been to the Capitol to meet him. Currently, Trey Rose is our state rep. A lot of times when I go to the Capitol to meet with him, he's not in his office. And I know he's pretty busy, but Bill Leverett is our another state representative who also helped us get the Martin Luther King Boulevard street name changed. Stephanie Benson with Downtown Development, Tina Hutchinson with DCA, and these just a name, like a few people. They're my colleagues all around the state of Georgia that, I'm able to call them and talk with them about things that are going on, what they're seeing in their community, how they're addressing their issues, and put together common sense best practices.
So Councilman Mahoney, why do you think it's so difficult for District 1 and District 2 council members to work together on many, if any, issues?
Well, I think one of the things is, people come with an agenda for power. And I think that should never be something that we should, and it takes power to get things done. But I think that the agenda should always be the people's agenda. And I think that District 2 sometimes don't understand the barriers in District 1 and why we're compassionate about some of the things that we bring up. District 1 is we're not really concerned about tourism. We're not real concerned about some of the things that they put a lot of emphasis on, antebellum houses, things like that. We're more concerned, our community is more, a lot of millennials, a lot of people need jobs, a lot of people having a hard time paying their electric rates. And we need to make sure that we have resources available, technical resources that are available to help them get to where they need to be at. I said this earlier, a lot of people who want a better job, who needs a better job, even if they even got a better job, if they stay in the housing authority, if they make over a certain income, they get evicted. That's one of the things I've been working with HUD, to try to put something into a resolution where they will have some type of grace period. If they got a job paying $20 an hour, they should not have to be evicted. That's an appetite for disaster. And then there's no place to move to, right? We're having a hard time now so what do? A family that, a single parent that have kids that trying to get a job, and once you get a job and then the housing authority say, well, you know what, you make more than the median income that you need to be over here, then you got to be evicted. Then where are they going to go? I think that is a break. That's one of the things that I think that we have to have a better understanding of District 2 versus District 1. And the thing is that this right here, Washington got to be the Washington that works for everybody. But you can't just put $200,000 in a program that doesn't bring any money back to the community. And then when we ask for resources in our community, it's just a flat no. That doesn't work.
Well, Councilman Mahoney, it's been great being with you today on this episode of the Ear Hustler Podcast.
The Ear Hustler Podcast.
But as we get ready to conclude this episode, is there anything that you would like to say to your constituents in District 1?
I just want to say this. Listen, I respect all the candidates that are running. Honestly, I do. Washington is a small community. Everybody knows everybody. And November the 8th is going to come. It's going to come when the dust is going to settle and the citizens are going to vote for whoever they want to vote for. But my thing is this right here. You need people who are in office that understands the job. And if you think one of these candidates is that person, then you vote for them. But politics ain't a pageant. You know, it's not the job you elect your best friend for, not knowing that they got the passion for it. But, you know, vote your heart, pray about it, you know, pay close attention for the things that you're seeing, pay close attention to the work that even I've done. Fact check me. Listen, I ran against somebody, right? I beat somebody. And my biggest thing is just to leave this job better than it was when I found it. That's my only thing that I've ever wanted to do. But, you know, we got a lot of things that we're doing. You know, let's continue the work that we have been able to do. Let's finish the work that we have started and vote for Maceo Mahoney. Thank you.
The content creator is in no way campaigning for nor endorsing this candidate. This recording is only an opportunity to appear on this platform to convey concerns for the city. Express motives for